Hi, the health and wellbeing task that I'm going to talk about is the one where you have to produce a video, working in pairs, choose one aspect of the health and wellbeing module that you think other students need to know about. Each person should make up a short 5-minute video using the screencasting tools such as Jing or YouTube. Describe and explain why your chosen topic is very important and indicate where they could find out more. So, we went to the food bank, which recently there was a programme on BBC One about it. It's a food bank in Dundee. It's called the Full Gospel Church. It's on Constitution Street. The food bank serves over 7,000 people a year. It's a Christian organisation which was founded 10 years ago in the prayer room. Basically what happened, we spoke to a woman called Tina, and she explained that what happened was they were in the prayer room and they were praying for people in Africa who were starving, and then it just dawned on them that there's probably people in Dundee starving too. So what they did was they went and they collected tins and things like that, and then they went around to people's doors and they knocked on this one woman's door just down the street from there, so in like the Stobswell area, and she answered the door and she didn't have any wallpaper on her wall, she didn't have any carpets, and she was like, oh, okay, 2 minutes, and she ran away through the house, and they were like, what's she doing? And it turned out she came back and she had 2 tins and she was going to donate them to the people, but they said, no, we're just giving out food today. And she started crying, she burst into tears because that was like the only food she had, and she was going to still give it to them thinking it was for a donation. So that's how it started. Just with some people thinking there must be people hungry in Dundee. They were given £5,000 and that's what really started it off. Nowadays it's run by the Trussell Trust, which they have a lot to do with food banks. They have 464 food banks across the UK and 50 of them are in Scotland. The Trussell Trust was established by 2 UN conveners, and the Trussell Trust is also a Christian organisation, although to be part of it, you don't have to be a Christian. They said it's just about caring and having a good heart. So the food bank that we visited today was one of 5, which is in Dundee. There's one in Mingus Hill, 2 in Ardler, 1 in Kirkton and 1 in Whitfield. The one in Whitfield was opened most recently, just a year ago, in November. So, and they're open for various days of the week. The one that we were in today was open 5 days a week. The one in Mingus Hill is 3 days, Ardler 1 day, Kirkton 1 day, and Whitfield is open for 2 days a week. The reason that they need so many in Dundee is just because it's to save people travelling. The woman Tina told us that this man had walked all the way to the food bank, which we went to today, in the pouring rain, and then got his food parcels and had to walk all the way back for miles and miles in the pouring rain. So it's just to save people who don't have transport from having to walk all the way if they can't afford a bus and things like that. She also explained to us though that even though they try to have a food bank which is kind of local for no matter where you are in Dundee, it doesn't always work that people want to use their local food bank because some people feel embarrassed to be using that service. They don't want their neighbours to know that they're using that service. And they just feel uncomfortable about people maybe recognising them. But she said that the way that she tried to explain it to them was that back in the day there would be a strong sense of community. So maybe like if your neighbour had just got out of hospital, you would pop over to your neighbour's house and give them like a dish of macaroni or something like that. Whereas maybe that doesn't happen so much now. Maybe you are not as familiar with your neighbours and things like that. So she said that it's just like a change in community. The community of Dundee are given to the food bank and the food bank are given to people who need it. So there is still a sense of community and community support. It's just going through this organisation rather than before maybe it would just be more person to person. The food bank that we visited, she explained to us it's the 3 to 6 month crisis centre. But realistically, people use it for much longer than that. Different circumstances mean that some people use it for longer, and it's not restricted to a 3 to 6 month crisis centre. people can use it for longer if the circumstances mean that they find that that's essential. Tina also explained to us that it's all walks of life that can access the food banks. For example, she was using the example of redundancies. People can be working their whole life and everything like that, and then they can find themselves out of a job, especially with the recession and things. A lot of people have lost their jobs. They still have mortgages to pay, they still have bills to pay, and then they can't afford food. So she said all walks of life use it. It's kind of like, especially when it comes into winter, she said that there's more people in winter time that use the food banks because they have to pay for heating. So they've got to make the choice between heat or eat. Would they heat their house or would they eat? So with the likes of food banks, that helps people because they don't have to make that choice. They will get some food as well as being able to heat their house. It's actually only 3 staff that work in the food bank, but they don't get paid from the food bank. They get paid from another organisation. But everybody else that works there are volunteers. They said they have about 100 volunteers who come. It just depends because a lot of people are maybe volunteering 1 day a week, or they have a part-time job, or they could be students. So although they have 100 volunteers, they don't have 100 bodies working every single day in their organisation. The people they can't just walk up to a food bank and say that they're hungry, they don't have enough money for food and they want a parcel. They have to be referred. You can be referred through, I think there's over 100 different organisations that can refer you. A lot of them are professional bodies like schools, doctors, things like that. So you have to go through a referral process. When you get referred, it goes all through a computer. They ask your name, your age, what kind of support you're receiving, if you're receiving any support. And Tina explained to us, again, this isn't because you've got to go through an organisation because Big Brother is watching you. She said it's because to make sure people don't slip through the net so that they do have the right support in place, and hopefully they'll be supported into not needing the food bank any longer. If people do arrive at the doorstep starving and don't have a referral though, they can be referred on to the likes of the Maxwell Centre, Coldside and the Steeple. The Steeple have a lot of, it's like a drop-in centre for homeless people, so they can help a lot there. Also, we were shown, when we went in, we got a tour of the whole building. We were shown the room with food and things like that, and we thought, oh my goodness, like it's a lot of food. They've got also a warehouse with more food, and she explained to us that when people donate food, it's sorted by the dates on them, so the long-lasting stuff that's maybe not until 2017, that'll all be in the warehouse, and the stuff that has to be used up first is stored here. So there's like a lot of organisation involved in this. They provide a basic range of foods. They consider allergies and things like that when they're making up the parcels. So when you're on the phone saying that you've got a referral, your name, your age, your type of support and things, they ask you if you've got any like food requests, if you're a vegetarian, if you need gluten-free. They also ask, do you have cooking facilities? They make up the bags as though people don't have cooking facilities, because sometimes people who are accessing the service don't have any cooking facilities. And Tina also explained to us that they provide tin openers as well, because some people might have a microwave but they might not have a tin opener and things like that. They have a new service as well. She was telling us they've just recently started to give out toiletries. This isn't, it's not given in every food package, it's sort of a request. If people want it, they can get it, but some people don't want it, so they don't need to get it, and the people who need it then can get it. They also had a lot of nappies and baby food and things, which hit home quite a lot, because obviously thinking of a young child growing up and all the things they need to be healthy, and they're having to provide some people with nappies and baby food and baby milk and things. They also have pet food. They had a big stash of advent calendars as well for coming up to Christmas time. They told us as well they sometimes get things like teddy bears and toys dropped in, and they can wrap them up as presents and sometimes give them to people as well if they need them. Often, well, Tina was telling us that sometimes out-of-date foods are given. People donate out-of-date foods thinking that if people are hungry then they don't mind if it's out-of-date. So what they do with that is they don't throw it away. They don't put it in the food parcels though. No food in the food parcels is out of date. They just put it in a box in kind of like a meeting room, and then if people want to help themselves to it, they can help themselves to it. She also said there's things like foods that are maybe a bit strange, like dipping sauces and things like that they couldn't really give without a full meal beside it. They can help themselves to that as well, but they obviously don't have to take it if they don't want it. So she was explaining to us as well that the donations come from individual people. For instance, me and Ellie both went today and we both brought tinned goods, tuna, pasta sauces, pasta and things like that. As well as from different collection points. There's collection points at some vets practices, so people can drop off pet food. Tesco's also have a special agreement with the food bank, which is people can buy. There's a big display when you go into Tesco saying that this food's for the food bank. It tells you these kind of things you can buy, non-perishable goods. So whatever people donate, Tesco top up by 30%. So then that's a big way that they get some food and things. The programme that me and Ellie watched on BBC One, which made us want to look into this more, has inspired a lot of other people as well, because we were speaking to Tina and she said that the number of people who have got in touch wanting to volunteer, or even just people who have got in touch that were wanting to donate foods and things like that, it's increased a lot since the programme, which is really good. And she was explaining that Dundee is the third biggest user of food banks in the UK, so the need for it is essential, really. So the reason that we chose to do this is because we were thinking that what roles could we do when we're going to be teachers in schools? What roles can schools play to help? And she was explaining that sometimes members of staff or volunteers will go out to schools and they'll explain about food banks. Or schools can come into the food bank, like what me and Ellie did today, have a tour around and see how it all works. She explained as well, like schools can do like a health and wellbeing project, for instance, growing vegetables and things, which they can donate the vegetables then to the food banks. Also, there's things like the shoebox appeal, which they do as well, which schools can help with. But I think it's just really important because to be aware that the children in our classes, some of them will have experience with food banks, and just to be able to relate to that and be non-judgmental and just know a little bit more about it. So yeah, we really enjoyed visiting the food bank today and it was quite eye-opening, and I think both me and Ellie are going to try and get some kind of maybe like if everybody can bring in a jar of pasta sauce or something like that to uni, like just get something extra that we can go back and give to them because they were really, really helpful, and obviously the job that they're doing is really important. So that's it. Thank you.